Happy Monday. On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, it looks like Red Hulk might be appearing in the new Captain America movie, at least according to an alleged Lego leak. Also, Oppenheimer and Succession dominate at the Golden Globes. Barbie running in the best adapted screenplay category is straight up insulting, says comedy legend Judd Apatow. Weird, the Yankovic story wins the Emmy for Best TV Movie, beating out other films such as Prey for that. What lessons can the Oscars learn from the Golden Globes? Speaking of the Emmys, Last of Us and Welcome to Wrexham lead the Creative Arts Emmys with big wins. The John Wick director is saying he'd love to take a swing at a Star Wars movie. And Rob and I are going to go over the 30 most anticipated films for 2024. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, hey, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm, of course, the reanimated corpse of John Campea. It's great to be back here, guys, and joining you. Joining me in studio, I got Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up? Happy Monday.
Jonathan Voico.
Hello.
Robert Meyer-Burnett.
I got a pop of myself from Ray for Christmas.
And it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Hey, most importantly, you guys are here joining us. Thanks for being here. And I've been under the weather. I've been sick. You guys know that, and I am feeling really good. I'm feeling really good. However, I've been warned. My airways are going to be inflamed and bothered for a while still, and so that means you're probably going to have to put up with me. You can tell I got a Halls in my mouth right now. I'm going to have to be sipping on my hot tea and hot chocolate through it. You're probably going to hear me coughing a bit and clearing my throat. It's just what I'm going to have to deal with. But it's good to be back and joining you guys. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by going through all those long topics that we just listed off. In the last part of the show, normally we open it up for super chats. However, today, as you could tell, we've got like 8 main topics. So we're not going to have time for super chats, but we are going to take questions from our beloved YouTube channel members who have already started firing in questions. We'll get to as many of those as we can near the end of the show. All right, guys, with all that down, let's get things going with this. We got a Captain America 4 movie coming out, and we know that Harrison Ford's in it. Big question has been, could Harrison Ford actually play Red Hulk as Thunderbolt Ross? Well, that is the topic of today's Mint Mobile Hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you got a topic or question for the show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call it in anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And again, today's question is about Red Hulk and Captain America 4. Check it out.
Lego sets have been known to leak stuff early, but did you see the recent Lego set that apparently shows Sam Wilson's Captain America facing off with the Red Hulk? I mean, the Red Hulk has been rumored since the inclusion of Thunderbolt Ross, but do you think this Lego set may have just leaked that the Red Hulk is actually going to be in Captain America 4? Thanks. Love to hear your thoughts.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in. And that has been a big topic of conversation ever since the first reports came out that Harrison Ford was going to come in and take over the role of Thunderbolt Ross, of course, because the actor who was playing him before has tragically passed away. And the question has been, because in the comics, Thunderbolt Ross can become the Red Hulk, depending on the version of the comics that you're reading. A lot of people thought we're going to get Red Hulk. And I admit, I've been dubious of that theory, because I thought just because they do, listen, there's a lot of stuff they do in the comics that they have never done and will never do on a television or a movie screen. So I've been kind of dubious that they would do it. It's like, yeah, it's possible, but I'm kind of dubious. Well, remember, Captain America 4 was supposed to be coming out soon. And these toy companies, they start making these toys 1 or a year and a half in advance of when the movies come out. I remember when my wife Ann was kind of bigwig over at Hasbro, and she'd be flying to these big movie studios. Like she was even at Skywalker Ranch looking at storyboards of the upcoming movies so they could start getting development together of the toys. And so even though now Captain America 4 is still a ways off. When is the release date of Captain America
Let me
4?
check that for you.
Yeah, because it's been pushed significantly.
Like a year.
Yeah, it's been pushed a lot.
Yeah,
So
long
even
way.
though it's a ways off, it was supposed to be coming out soon. So it wouldn't be surprising. So, according to some leakers, there are these images that have come out of a Captain America 4 set.
That could be anybody.
With that, I mean, that could be anybody.
It says here expected February 14th, 2025.
So, like, well over a year away. But, I mean, this could be my wife before she's had her coffee in the morning. I mean, whatever. It could be anybody, right? Well, no. Obviously, people are looking at Red Hulk. Now, it's important for us to always loop back around to remind all of us that we have seen toys come out for upcoming movies where something in those toy sets had nothing to do with the movie. Remember that Justice League toy set that got leaked that had all the Justice League members, including Lex Luthor in his comic book accurate Lex Luthor battle armor? Well, that was never in the movie. That was never a part of the movie. So just because something's in a toy set does not 100% mean it'll be in the movie, but more times than not, it is. Rob, there have been a lot of people speculating ever since they announced Harrison Ford was taken, even before, William passed away, that that Red Hulk would be making an appearance. Does seeing this image surprise you? Does this solidify it for you that we're going to see Harrison Ford turn into a raging Red Hulk? What do you think about this?
Well, here's the thing. I was, when it comes to speculation, my first go-to, my friend Rob G always says, wouldn't it be cool if? And in my mind, it's like, wouldn't it be cool if Harrison Ford turned into the Red Hulk in a movie? And my go-to answer would be, why, yes.
That image
Yes,
looks great, by the way.
Yes, it would be. Yeah, this looks great. So, in my mind, sure. Why not? Because now that we have Professor Hulk, let's give back a different kind of a Hulk that's more along the lines of the Hulk we want to see Hulk out. But on the other hand, when it comes to this specific movie now, knowing they hired a brand new writer, knowing the movie was finished and now they're completely retooling it, reshooting it, doing whatever they're doing, I would say that all bets are off. And of course, whatever the Lego set was, it was the first iteration of what the movie was when they were making it. Now they're retooling it. So I don't know, but I would say this. If Red Hulk was supposed to be in the movie, they're probably going to keep him in the movie because it would be cool if he was.
Well, also, that's a huge financial thing, right? Like all the previs, all the work that's gone into making sure you had Hulk. Like even when a movie or a TV show is undergoing big rewrites, they will carry over as much as they can. Like remember, guys, even the Daredevil series, which they practically said, we've practically scrapped the whole thing. Well, later we found out they were still going to bring as much of the footage as they shot and all that kind of stuff over. So
because money was spent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think if Hulk was going to be a part of it, I don't see any reason to believe, or Red Hulk, I should say, I don't see any reason to believe that they wouldn't be carrying that over.
Also, that Red Hulk body right there that's like a special Lego body that they use for specific characters. I think toy companies do want to find reason to reuse those actual pieces, like to actually re-release them. I mean, they've already had a Red Hulk Lego out. Of course, they're going to want a reason to release them again because those are popular bodies. Like, I would buy a set just to get that Red Hulk body if I was a Lego collector. I mean...
So now let's put on our big speculation hats. What kind of role does Red Hulk play in a non-superpowered Captain America movie? Because obviously, like, Sam ain't fighting Red Hulk. I don't care how good his suit is. Like,
well, it is called Brave New World. Maybe the Brave New World is that normal people are going to become more meta-human-like.
Or Sam becomes convinced that Cap needs to have an edge, and he takes a new form of super soldier serum. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, this would then also have implications with Thunderbolts.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Somebody's got to fight the Celestials.
The Sentry.
No, you don't. You just have to ignore them.
Yeah.
That thing in the ocean? Don't worry about it.
Who's he to judge us?
So, I mean, if we're going to see him as Red Hulk in Captain America, I can only assume then that we will indeed see him as Red Hulk in Thunderbolts. And then, well, who knows? Then all bets are off. All right. Guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Last night was the Golden Globes. And we're going to talk a little bit later about one or two elements that I think they really did right at the Golden Globes. Overall, it was a fairly snore fest of a thing. Everything except for, I think, the Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig presentation. They tried. Oh, you know what? No. The one presentation where the three main voice actors from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse came out, and they said, to honor writing, we have decided that our presentation would be written by Hollywood executives. And then they did that part was funny. But other than that, like all the presentations, including Joe Coy, I mean, it was just everybody play it safe. Nobody do anything. Nobody rock the boat. And it was almost like they forgot that they were not in an auditorium filled with 5,000 fans. They were in a small dining room of about 400 executives and half-drunk Hollywood stars, and they weren't going to get a reaction for anybody out of anything. Anyway, all that aside, the awards themselves were quite interesting, and the two big winners of the evening, on the movie side, Oppenheimer. On the television side, it was Succession. Oppenheimer won Best Movie Drama, won Best Director, won Best Lead Actor, won Best Supporting Actor. So they won a lot of the big categories there. Succession kind of cleaned up on the television side. For their final season, they won Best TV Drama, Best Lead Actor, Best Lead Actress, Best Supporting Actor, and a smattering things here and there. Here's some of the big highlight ones here. So, the Golden Globes, Best Motion Picture Drama, of course, went to Oppenheimer. Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy went to Poor Things. I actually think it's going to be a two-horse race at the Oscars between those two. You know what? No, I'm going to throw in a third. I think it's going to be Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Poor Things. I think are probably going to be the big runners for that. Anyway, Best Motion Picture Animated went to The Boy and the Heron. I still think it should have been Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I still think that's the best movie of the year, but whatever. In the most idiotic move in award show history, they went through with their absolutely backwards, stupid cinematic and box office achievement award, which really could have just been renamed the "Hey, how do we get Taylor Swift to come to the award show" category. And despite the fact that Oppenheimer won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actor, Best Supporting Actor, blah, blah. No, apparently Barbie was still better. How? Because it made $10 more. Whatever. It was one of the most idiotic things I've ever seen.
And it was cinematic.
But hey, one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Best Motion Picture Non-English Language is Anatomy of Fall, which also had a big night, by the way. Anatomy of Fall had a couple of big wins last night. Best Performance by Male Actor in a Drama. Of course, Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy. Best Performer by a Female Actor in a Motion Picture Drama. No surprise to anybody, Lily Gladstone. She's the odds-on favorite. However, a lot of people still think that Emma Stone has a shot at this as well at the Oscars. Best Performance by a Female Actor in a Motion Picture or Comedy. Again, Emma Stone, because for some idiotic reason, the Golden Globes separate musical and comedy from drama. But only for Best Picture, Best Actor and Actress. But for Best Supporting Actor and Actress, they just put them as any movie in general. Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. I didn't think he would win. I was very happy he won. He is brilliant in that movie.
Yeah.
His third win. Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Supporting Role in any Motion Picture, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. A lot of people think it's going to be a race between him and Ryan Gosling at the Oscars. Best Performance by a Female Actor in a Supporting Role, Divine Joy Randolph, also for The Holdovers. Not a lot of surprise there. A lot of people, a lot of the big awards predictors are saying she's got all the momentum going in. And so not a big surprise that she won that there. And Best Director went to Christopher Nolan. Best Screenplay, Motion Picture, went to Anatomy of a Fall, which was one of the big surprising things. Because you had Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Past Lives, Poor Things, Barbie, all in there for Best Screenplay, and it went to Anatomy of the Fall. And then, a whole bunch of other stuff. So, big night for Oppenheimer, big night for Succession. I don't believe, though, that any of it is any indicator of what's going to happen at the Oscars. Because look, the bottom line, here's the ultimate weakness of the Golden Globes. It's voted on by a bunch of schlub nobodies like me. I'm not one of the voters, but the voters are literally just a handful of schlub nobodies who happen to be journalists for outlets that are overseas. I 100% guarantee you, I know several members of the voting Oscar Academy. Rob, you know several voting members of the Oscar Academy. None of them are influenced by what this particular pack of schlub nobodies votes on. Right? Now, that's not to say, though, that they may not have picked many of the same winners that the Oscars may pick. Obviously, Oppenheimer's a big favorite. Robert Downey Jr. is one of the big front runners. So we could see many. She very well could win that. Lily Gladstone is probably going to win, although between her and Emma Stone, that could be close. So I don't think there's anything. But you know what? As far as just, despite some of the big idiotic things they did at the show, and despite the fact that they had a number of wins that I would have maybe given it to somebody different, nothing outrageous. Nothing. Yeah, I might have given this award to this other person, but this person winning was totally justified too. I thought it was a good, solid rundown of winners. Rob, what did you think about the winners list we saw? And was there any particular category that stood out to you as being pretty surprising?
Not really. I mean, I thought it was pretty much by the numbers what I expected to happen. I mean, look, John, Oppenheimer was my favorite movie of the year. I think it's an incredible, staggering achievement. Succession, obviously, I loved Succession. So all of these things, I mean, not only was there no surprises, but I felt like everybody deserved these awards. I mean, Kieran Culkin was not a surprise to me because even there's the one episode this season where, I mean, his acting was beyond. It was incredible.
Yeah, but any of the three dudes nominated from Succession,
of course,
if any of them won, I think I would have been cool with it.
Yeah, 100%. And so there really wasn't anything that surprised me pretty much, I don't think, at all. I did think Lily Gladstone, I know she's like an odds-on favorite, but like Emma Stone is front and center of Poor Things. And was she even nominated?
For Best Lead Actress in a Musical or Comedy. And she won that category.
Right. Okay. Because that was the thing. So they weren't competing against each other. I wouldn't call music. Yeah. But in the Oscars, I'm thinking in the Oscars, they're going to be I don't think Lily Gladstone was a lead. You know, I mean, she was the lead female in that movie, but she was kind of a supporting actress.
But I'll say that because of the length of that movie, yeah, she was probably in that movie more than the length of most other major motion pictures.
It's true. But I mean, I thought Poor Things is an extraordinary movie, and I love Emma Stone. But what she did in that role was fearless. And I wouldn't call it necessarily musical or comedy.
I laughed during it, but I mean, yeah. And I don't mean I mean that genuinely, like I laughed during it, but
yeah, no,
but yeah, it's not a comedy.
It's not a comedy. But I think for the most part it was pretty good. I mean, I was like, okay, these awards, because sometimes the Golden Globes have gone off the rails in terms of who they've given the awards to. But I thought last night was pretty legitimate. I mean, I think the Golden Globes know that they're under scrutiny. They're hanging by a thread anyway because of all the different controversies. And I think this was the year that this was their comeback year where they made sure that the awards, both the nominees and the winners, were as legitimate as possible. I still think the two categories are kind of goofy.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, like to that point, like The Bear, which also was a big winner last night, under the category of musical or comedy show, but they're not alone. I think the Emmys may categorize the Bear as a comedy as well, right? I think the awards, and this sounds like a criticism, but it isn't. I mean this as a positive thing. I think you're right, Rob. I think they knew this was a make or break show for them.
Yes.
Because they're under the microscope. And I think they went very, very safe with who they voted for winners. And that's not a bad thing. The very fact that they still have that idiotic box office achievement award and had to have Taylor Swift there and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's funny because it's cinematic and box office achievement. And while I thought Barbie, in terms of its look and feel, was pretty extraordinary, but in terms of the cinematic arts, Oppenheimer's beyond.
Well, that just kind of highlights the ridiculousness of it, right? Oppenheimer wins Best Picture, wins Best Director, wins Best Actor, wins Best Supporting Actor. Oh, but Barbie's the better movie in this category. Anyway, so
why don't they just say special award for box office champion of the year?
Yeah, I mean,
because
you might as well, right?
I mean, Oppenheimer almost grossed $1 billion. Oppenheimer outgrossed Inception.
Yeah, a historical piece. Like it's
a historical biopic, because anybody who's interested in movies from all walks of life, if you saw Oppenheimer in the theater, it's an astonishing achievement in motion picture.
Yeah, it was incredible. All right, guys, with that all down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, we are now kind of racing towards the Oscars, and something you may have heard about this, kind of controversial, happened. It got announced that the Oscars were going to run Barbie in the Best Adapted Screenplay category as opposed to Original Screenplay. Now, of course, Adapted Screenplay is supposed to mean that your screenplay is built on another previous work, whether that's a novel, a previous television show, a short story, whatever. That's supposed to be the kind of thing that differentiates Best Adapted Screenplay from Best Original Screenplay. Now, originally, Barbie had been running and was running and campaigning under the Best Original Screenplay, but they shifted gears and went to Best Adapted Screenplay, which of course is complete bullcrap because this is not adapted from anything. And comedy legend Judd Apatow came out, who's a writer himself, member of the WGA, came out and had some words for it. And this is what he said. This comes us from Variety, who said the following: "It's insulting to the writers to say that they were working off of existing material," the Knocked Up and This Is 40 director wrote on Twitter on Saturday. "There was no existing material or story. There was a clear box. Meanwhile," Variety says, "the Writers Guild of America has designated Barbie as an original work, and it will remain in that category for the upcoming WGA Awards." So we've got a movie here where in one major writing award ceremony, the WGA, it's going to be listed as what it should be, original screenplay, versus the Oscars, who have decided, for whatever reason, to allow Barbie to run into the Best Adapted Screenplay category. Now, look, I can already hear some people, but John, Barbie's a thing. Yes, but toasters are a thing. And if a toaster is in an original movie, you don't change it to Best Adapted Screenplay. Well, I mean, there's a toaster in it. Yes, but nothing that was in the Barbie movie has ever existed in story form before and aligned with a Barbie product. Ever. This was an original screenplay. Period. End of story. That's it. And that's why you got some people in the WGA, like Judd Apatow, coming out and saying, this isn't just dumb, this is insult. The brave little toaster. This is not just dumb.
I love that cartoon.
Says Apatow, this is straight up insulting. And the WGA themselves are going to continue to run under Best Original Screenplay. So, Rob, I mean, to me, unless somebody comes out at some point and says, oh, no, there was actually this 1967 short story written about Barbie's trek to the real world. And it narrates and chronicles Barbie leaving Barbie Land and going into the real world. And they adapt. I'll get that. But this, to me, is an absolute head scratcher. Like, on what basis are they justifying calling this an adapted screenplay when the WGA is saying, no, this is an original screenplay? How do you see this?
Well, I got to tell you, at first I was like, yeah, Judd Apatow, yes, you're right. I was completely 100% on board. And then I started to read some other articles. And first of all, there has been a number of Barbie animated things. And then the point that was made that I couldn't concede is that the characters of Barbie, Ken, Skipper, all the different rainbow-colored Barbies over the years, the Barbie dream house, the realm that they live in, the pink Corvette and the pink car, all of that stuff previously existed. And the actual character of Barbie, while had never been depicted in a feature film, Barbie, with all of her accoutrements, that everything they'd given her from the 1950s up to the present day, as a character or as a doll, already existed. So they didn't create Barbie from whole cloth. So they had 50 or 60 years of stuff that they looked at and said, okay, if we had to turn this into a movie, here's all the stuff that we have to look at. How would we take this? So they did adapt the doll and turn it into something real. So, and it even says in the movie, I think they call it based on the character of Barbie owned by Mattel or something in the film. So from a technical standpoint, I would say yes, it's based on a bunch of stuff that previously existed. On the other hand, I personally believe that no, you can't. When you take an inanimate object like a toaster and figure out a way to turn a toaster into a character, that's original. So everything they did and the story they came up with and the characterization, like there is no old crazy Barbie, you know, some wise sage-like Barbie that lives up on a hill in a hippie commune. That was so what they did with Barbie was, I think, completely original.
Their Deadline raised a good point about this when they said, when you look at the history of biographies in Hollywood, whenever you had a biography of, say, a historical figure where that biography, that movie, that biopic was based on something written about that character. Why am I freezing on the name of Steve? Steve from Apple.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. There was actually a book written about Steve Jobs, and then the one biopic was based on that book.
Right.
And it was under the category then of adapted screenplay.
Sure.
However, as Deadline pointed out, there have been biographies that were not based on previous works, like based on real live people, and yet categorized properly as original screenplay.
Okay, well, there you go.
And so it's really confusing to see the fact that you got the WGA, the actual writers, saying, no, this is original, but the Academy saying something different. It's going to be really interesting to see how this kind of shit and what kind of precedence this sends later on.
I just want to be clear, though. For me, Barbie should be an original screenplay, I think.
Nobody puts Barbie in the adapted corner.
I agree. All right. With that down, guys, it'd be interesting to hear your guys' points of view. Let us know what you guys think down below. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, this weekend, the Golden Globes were not the only award ceremonies going on. The Emmy Awards actually kind of low-key kicked off. Now, the Emmys have broke, because there are so many categories in the Emmys, they've kind of broken it into two different events. They've got what they call the Creative Arts Emmys, which are still the Emmys. It's just for a lot of what you call the quote-unquote smaller categories. And then they have the more major awards at the Emmy telecasts later on, but they're all Emmys, right? Well, the Creative Arts Emmys got kicked off, and one of the big categories that I'm surprised was put under the Creative Arts Nights was Best Television Movie. And the winner was Weird, the Al Yankovic story starring Daniel Radcliffe, which I could not be more thrilled about. I, capital L, loved this movie so much. This comes from the folks at the Hollywood Reporter who say this. Weird, the Al Yankovic story, won the award for Outstanding Television Movie at the 2023 Creative Arts Emmys. The other nominees were Dolly Parton's Mountain Magic Christmas, Fire Island, Hocus Pocus 2, and the Predator movie, Prey. This is one of the 8 Emmy Awards that Weird, the Al Yankovic story was nominated for. The film is co-written and produced by Weird Al Yankovic himself, telling the story of his ascent to parody artist superdom. And I remember I went to a special screening of this, and Daniel Radcliffe wasn't there, but Rainn Wilson was there. The directors of the film, the writers of the film, and Rainn Wilson were there. And I remember sitting in this ratty little theater that they did the screening of and just hoping it would be good, because you guys know I'm a big Al Yankovic fan. Just kind of hoping it would be good. And it blew every expectation away. This was brilliant. I can't believe the Emmys actually honored it as Best Television Movie of the Year, which is, again, really weird because it's a movie made for TV fall under the Emmys or should it fall under the Oscars? That's still a debate that's going on. Regardless, Weird, the Al Yankovic story wins for that. Rob, you had a chance to see this. What did you think of that?
Well, first of all, I love this movie. And I thought that Prey was going to win. I thought.
So did I.
I really did. And I think Prey is a terrific film, too. But you know what, though? The creativity that went into Weird, even the casting of Daniel Radcliffe, it was so off the wall, and the fact that it works and it's as funny as it is, it truly is. It's a great film. So I loved seeing this movie win because I think ultimately, look, I love Prey. I thought Prey for a Predator movie was really, really good. And because I love science fiction, fantasy, and horror, my loyalties were to see Prey win. But I think they really nailed it. I think the best film won in this case.
And you nailed it with the creativity of the film. Like,
yeah,
were they so like carefully dance the line between this is kind of how Weird Al got his start, but parodying his own story.
Yes.
Along the way. There's a scene in this movie, guys, at a pool party where Jack Black shows up as the old DJ, radio DJ, Wolfman Jack.
Yeah.
And that's just absolutely incredible. Daniel Radcliffe just killed it in this. And I am super excited to see that it took Best TV Movie of the Year. So congratulations to everybody involved with Weird, the Al Yankovic story. All right, guys, listen. We still got a few things we need to cover, including, as bad as maybe they were, what lessons can the Oscars learn from the Golden Globes? Also, we're going to look at some of the other winners, big winners, including The Last of Us and Welcome to Wrexham from the Emmys the other night. The John Wick director, Chad Stahelski, is saying he wants to take a swing at a Star Wars movie. And Rob and I are going to go over our 30 most anticipated films for the upcoming 2024. But before we get to that, we're going to take a quick second here and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at MasterClass and Harry's. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, MasterClass. Everyone, it's a new year, so picture that thing that you've always wanted to learn. Now, picture learning it from a person who's literally one of the best in the world at it, and that's what you get with MasterClass. This year, learn from the best to become your best with MasterClass. Don't just talk about improving, MasterClass helps you actually do it. Because MasterClass offers over 180 world-class instructors, so whether you want to master negotiation with Chris Voss like I did, think like a boss with Martha Stewart, or learn the art of storytelling from the man himself, Neil Gaiman, MasterClass has you covered. Because with MasterClass, you get unlimited access to intimate one-on-one classes with the world's best. At MasterClass, there are over 200 classes to pick from, with new classes being added every month. And if you're a viewer of the John Campea Show, you probably love movie making, storytelling, television. So you would be totally interested in things like screenwriting from Aaron Sorkin, learn developing original TV series from Stranger Things as the Duffer Brothers, or maybe you like the music side of movies, well, you can learn film scoring from Hans Zimmer. And right now, our listeners will get an additional 15% off an annual membership at masterclass.com/Campea. Get 15% off right now at masterclass.com/Campea. masterclass.com/Campea. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Harry's. You know, guys, in order to start the John Campea Show, I had to leave my high-paying corporate job in order to set myself up to be happier and enjoy more personal success. Because sometimes to get what you want, you have to challenge the status quo and blaze your own trail. And that's exactly what the folks at Harry's did. You see, at Harry's, they saw customers getting ripped off by questionable products in the shaving industry and decided to do something better. Harry's decided to pave their own road by making beautifully designed razors for a fraction of the price of the other big brands. Exceptional products, honest prices. That's Harry's. I have fallen in love with Harry's, from their foaming shaving gel that feels just luxurious on the skin, to their incredible razor that feels just as good in the hand as it does going over your skin. They've got rich, lathering, skin-softening body wash in scents like redwood, wildlands, and stone. You see, Harry's provides German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer. You can get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. Don't settle for the status quo. Blaze your own trail with Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That's harrys.com/Campea for a $3 trial set. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass and Harry's for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. You know, the Golden Globes, of course, happened last night, and I am one of the biggest critics of the Golden Globes. I really kind of think they're useless, but hey, I'm looking forward to seeing how they try to make changes now that they're under new ownership, see how they move forward. And they did some things right, I think, last night. Of course, they played it really safe with their winners and stuff like that. That's a good thing. But despite the fact that I'm one of the foremost world's haters of the Golden Globes, I thought it'd be interesting to take a second and say, okay, let's look at last night's Golden Globes presentations. And are there some legitimate lessons that we think and notes that the Oscars could take on what the Golden Globes did to maybe improve the vastly superior Oscars? And I think there is, to be honest with you. And the first thing that I'm going to point out that I thought, amidst all the unfunny jokes and whatever and all that kind of stuff, this show moved. This show had pace. This show went and never took its foot off the gas pedal. Like, you know what I love? I remember watching the third Die Hard movie. And of course, the opening credits start, you see some, you know,
hot town, summer in the city.
Yep, you see the citywide shots, all the establishing shots, as they call it in the
Bonwit Teller blows up.
And then all of a sudden, big explosion. No waiting, because traditionally in movies, you got to get 5, 10, 15 minutes into a movie, all some mundane stuff, and then, oh, something happens. Nope. That movie just bang. They had the opening intro, a couple of minutes of a monologue, and then boom, here's these presenters. We're presenting this, boom. And now we're presenting this, boom. And the show just kept going because they understood that while there's some other nice things to do, the in memoriam, they're going to do at the Oscars. I look forward to that every year. I think it's a great thing they've always done and that they should always do. There's a couple of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Ceremonial things that they do at the Oscars that they should continue to do. But for the most part, that Golden Globes, they understood people are tuning in to watch this to hear the winners announced. They understood that. That is the first primary thing. They want to see all the celebrities looking glamorous, and then they want to hear the winners announced. That's what people are tuning in to see. And for the vast majority of this show, that's what they kept focused on. And here's one of the advantages of that, Rob. When something like a presenter would come out and drop a lame joke, guess what? There was no time to linger on it.
No crickets.
No crickets. No time for it. I mean, yeah, you could hear when they do a joke and maybe a couple of claps, but it didn't matter.
There were some lame jokes.
And there were some of those.
There were.
But they just kept the thing moving. So even if you hit a bad joke and whatever, it didn't matter. You just kept the show moving. They announced the winner. Winner came up. Beautiful moment. Thank you, everybody. Went off. Next category. Next category. Next category. And, you know, that's one of the things that I really appreciated about the Golden Globes is that, and historically, one of the things the Golden Globes has always done better than the Oscars. The Oscars is 1,000 times more relevant award, but the Golden Globes have always known how to put on a show. And they understood the audience are here to see the celebs, and they're here to hear who won. Even if we get who won wrong, doesn't matter. And we move that on. And again, I just think that is one of the things the Oscars has to become more aware of. There are categories the audiences don't care to see. And I don't mean that as any disrespect to people who make short documentary. I've made documentaries myself. I have a huge respect for people who can make good documentaries, long form, short form, whatever. But the reality is the Golden Globes understand the audience isn't tuning in to see who wins best short form documentary. I think the Oscars needs to continue to move some of the categories out of the main telecast and into one of their art and technical categories or something like that. They need to cut down the amount of ceremonial presentation stuff they do and be more about the celebs who are there and announcing the winners. With a few other things thrown in, I agree. But anyway, Rob, to me, that's one of the big things. As critical as I am of the Golden Globes, that I honestly do think the Golden Globes can truly hold up and say, here's a lesson for other shows like the Oscars to learn from us. And I hope the Oscars were paying attention. What do you think are maybe some of the takeaways the Oscars can take from the Golden Globes?
Well, I'm with you. I think pacing has always been a problem with the Oscars because each section kind of shambles and lurches. You know, you go from this somber in memoriam segment to somebody walks out and goes, and now let's give the award to special effects. You know, and so it's never.
Yeah, they need to go from in memoriam to commercial. That's what they have to do.
Yeah, and they need to figure out a way. They have to pace it like a story. Like, what is the story? What is the overall story of this year's movies? Not like, okay, here's our musical number, and then that doesn't lead into. And I think, you know, this is a strange thing to say, and I don't know how to translate this into a award show, but Barbenheimer was a story. I think an overarching story. Taylor Swift is part of that story. Past Lives, a small, quiet film, shot on film, first-time director, really intimate portrait. I love that.
Brilliant film.
There's a really so figure out what is the narrative of movies in 2023, and make the Oscars a story unto itself, a 3-act structure with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and figure out how. Now, I don't know how to do that. It's easy for me to say that.
But I feel like when Billy Crystal was doing that, they kind of had an idea of that.
They did, because at the beginning, that whole musical number where he's going through different movies, and he's setting up that year.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way. I mean, now they're looking for ways to make the show when really they should just go back to doing what they do best, which is tell the story. And the story they have is the year 2023. We've come out of a pandemic. People are going back to the theaters. While we didn't quite get pre-pandemic numbers, there was a lot of money that was made this year.
$9 billion.
And I'll tell you something. There was a really diverse slate of stories to go see in the theater. And, you know, ending with who would have thought Godzilla would have been a banger. You know, and tell that tale and make the cultural story of what movies mean year by year something that's relevant unto itself, and make movies special again, man.
By the way, I'm going to point out one other thing that I think the Oscars should learn from the Golden Globes. You know what the Golden Globes didn't have? Well, they did have Best Original Song category, but they didn't use up 20 minutes of screen time to have all the nominated songs get sung at it. And I think that's another. Now, listen, as one of my favorite Oscar memories of all time is watching Annie Lennox come out on stage and sing Into the West. Absolutely it is. I'm not saying it's not, but that's a lot of screen time gets taken up in that. And the Golden Globes just like, no, we have a best song category. We don't ask every best lead actor nominee to come out on stage and act out a 5-minute scene of your movie.
Right.
No, we name the nominees and then we name the winner. Best original song, here are your nominees, here's your winner. I think that's
or
something
do a medley. I love medley.
Yeah, they used
I
to
don't
do that.
mind that idea. I've gotten on board with that idea before
because
too,
medleys are quick.
Yep.
If you figure you're going to sing 90 seconds or 2 minutes of a song, and it's still 10 minutes, but I mean it's
Make it 40 seconds of a song.
Medleys are cool.
Yeah. And then streaming it into the next one. Because how cool would it have been to have a medley of Peaches and I'm Just Ken? I thought that could have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
By the way, I almost called her Debbie Gibson. Billie Eilish. A song, I don't know why I was going to say Debbie Gibson. Billie Eilish won Best Original Song from Barbie, not I'm Just Ken. And you know what? The right song won.
Yeah, I agree.
At least the right song. Because that's a very meaningful song in the movie. As is I'm Just Ken. All right. Guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? As we mentioned earlier with Weird, the Al Yankovic story, winning the Emmy for Best TV Movie, there were a whole bunch of other awards, Emmy Awards, given out at the Creative Art Emmys over this weekend. And a couple of the two big winners, take a look at this. As of right now, the two big winners are The Last of Us on HBO and Welcome to Wrexham. Now, of course, we talked about, where is it? It's down this list. I know it was here on the list. Where did it go?
It's cut off there a little bit.
Oh, it got cut off. But Weird won 2 awards last night. But the big ones, of course, were The Last of Us winning 8 awards and Welcome to Wrexham winning 5. And you see that that's only listed under the Creative Arts night. There's still the primetime show that's to come. That's going to add to their totals. And even though this is like considered the smaller awards nights, there were several big awards handed out, including, like we said, Best TV Movie of the Year went to Weird the Al Yankovic Story. They also announced the winner for Best Animated Series. The Emmy got handed out this weekend for Best Animated Series. Went to The Simpsons.
Which is crazy. After all these years.
Still won. It was up against Rick and Morty and Bob's Burger, and I forget what the other two nominees were, but it won that. So Welcome to Wrexham won 5. The two big ones that won were Best Unstructured Reality Show, because I guess they've broken reality shows now into 2 categories, structured and unstructured, whatever. But Welcome to Wrexham won the Emmy for Best Unstructured Reality Show and won for Best Direction for a Reality Show, period. So no separating the structured or unstructured. It was just Best Direction for a Reality Program went to Welcome to Wrexham. Pardon me. And Best Unstructured Reality Program went to Wrexham, as well as winning 3 other awards last night. The big winner of the evening, though, was Last of Us. Last of Us took home several big awards, including, I think, Best Visual Effects, Best Title Sequencing, like a whole bunch of these things. One of the really interesting ones, though, is one that we and a lot of you guys called the day the episode dropped. Nick Offerman from Last of Us took home the Emmy for Best Guest Appearance in a Series. Which, come on, like all of us, the night episode 3 dropped, all of us were just like, just hand him the Emmy. Just hand him the Best Guest Appearance Emmy. It's obviously going to go to him. And sure enough, it did. So he walked away from there too. So let's actually take a look at this. So these are the categories which they won. They won Outstanding Prosthetic Makeup for Last of Us, Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a Season or Movie, Last of Us, Outstanding Prosthetic Makeup. Wait, we already had that one. I meant to go the other way. Outstanding Main Title Design, which is an actual category at the Emmys.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or Drama Series 1 hour and Animation, Last of Us. Outstanding Sound Mixing, Last of Us. Outstanding Picture Editing for a Drama Series, Last of Us. I'd say Best Editing is a pretty major award.
It is.
That they got that night. Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series went to Storm Reed as Riley. So not only did they win Best Male Guest Appearance for Nick Offerman, they won Best Female Guest Appearance for Storm Reed. By the way, I love that episode. I thought that episode was great in the mall. And I think lastly, Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. And of course, that was Nick Offerman. So overall, the main Emmy show hasn't even happened yet, and Last of Us has already won 8 Emmys, with Welcome to Wrexham making 5. Rob, you took a look at this. First of all, I'm really surprised that some of these are big categories that are being put into the creative arts nights, but what did you think about the...
Well, editing is obviously, for me, a huge category, and I understand why. Look, if you're going to turn the Emmys into a show, and they've already done that, the Emmys, you have to... Look, as much as I think that the big filmmaking categories need to be recognized, in terms of a show, I think it's really smart that they break the Emmys up this way, because when you're watching these award shows, you want the glitter, you want the glitz, the glam, the Hollywood of it all. And editors, as much as I'd like to think that film editors are sexy, a lot of them, we're in rooms, dark rooms all the time, making little cuts. So it's not like we're going to walk out and go, hi, or I would. But
I guess I give it a pass for the Emmys, but I would be pretty upset if they took the editor off the Oscars.
No, I would agree, but the Oscars don't have 10,000 categories the way that the Emmys do. Yeah. So I think this is a good way, and they mix it up. You still have like the guest star and have Nick Offerman win. I really liked how they've done this, and stars do show up. What I love about the creative Emmys is that you see a lot of the big stars that are part of these shows show up to support their shows.
Yes.
And I think it's really cool. I've always I like this. I appreciate this, and I think Last of Us. I think the thing that I love most, John, about this is it shows that fantasy, sci-fi, and horror, when done correctly, have really permeated the pop culture consciousness enough that they're no longer shunned. That people are like, it's just horror. it's considered as valid as a show like Succession. And I think that it shows a real leap forward.
And not just a video game show.
Right.
Right? As of right now, Last of Us has won more Emmys than any other show out there.
Yeah. And I think it's great. And congratulations to Craig Mazin and Druckmann for making the video game adaptation legitimate and possible and good.
All right, guys. With that all down, let's move on to this, shall we? Is there a more... it's almost like you're talking about the world of sports. Like, is there a franchise that has less stability and more chaos going on? In the world of movies, is there a franchise that is less stable or has more chaos going on around it than the Star Wars franchise? Nobody knows what's going on with this franchise right now. I mean, they announce movies, they get canceled. Then they say they're doing more, and then they come out and say, oh yeah, you know that thing that divided the Star Wars fan base every bit as much as the prequels did?
Double down.
Yeah, let's do another Rey movie. And listen, I love Daisy Ridley. I think Daisy Ridley's great. I think Rey can be a very interesting character. But I am still flabbergasted that they decided to go into a direction that is clearly going to be very divisive for the fan base. But whatever. Well, in as much as a lot of toxic Star Wars fans have chased off some of the great filmmakers from ever wanting to touch Star Wars again, a very interesting name has come out and said, sign me up. I want to do a Star Wars movie. That's John Wick's Chad Stahelski. This is what he said. This comes to us from the folks at Variety who said this. He says, look, I'm a Star Wars guy. Like, the first Star Wars changed my life, he said. Maybe someday out there, Disney, if you're listening, hit me in a couple of years and I have a couple of takes for Star Wars I'd love to take a swing at. I challenge you. See if Disney could survive me, he added. And listen, this isn't the first time that Chad has talked about Star. He's gone on and waxed poetic before, historically, about his love of Star Wars and where he draws a lot of his influence from and all that kind of stuff. Now, it is never a news story to say, newsflash, actor wants role. Or newsflash, director would like studio job. But given the turmoil and chaos that is the Star Wars universe right now, to have a director like this step up. Now, granted, Chad is not Martin Scorsese. You know, he's not Steven Spielberg. He's not, Guillermo del Toro. He's not whatever, but he's a respected amongst the fan community directing name who's taken what should have been a throwaway, cheap, forgettable action film and turned it into one of the most exciting action franchises we've had in recent memory with the John Wick franchise. And now he's saying, I would love to take a crack at Star Wars. He's not just saying, yeah, I'd be open to it, or, if somebody came to me with the right idea. Blah. No. He's saying, I'd love to take a swing at Star Wars. Disney, are you listening? I want to take a swing at Star Wars. Give me a shot. I think that's interesting. Jonathan and I were talking about this before the show started today. And whereas I don't think you give, say, Chad Stahelski a Star Wars Episode 10 or something like that, there are some really cool stories, fun stories that you could do in the world of Star Wars. Hell, I said to Jonathan, take the oldest kung fu trope there is, the only kung fu. Listen, every kung fu movie you've ever seen has this plot line. Young warrior's master has been murdered and now he's seeking revenge. I just described the drunken master. I've just described every kung fu movie you've ever seen. But you take that and apply that to Star Wars and let Chad Stahelski direct that? Sign me up. I'd be down for that. You
know how you could get the entire planet behind Star Wars in literally one announcement? One announcement with Mr. Stahelski. They announce a new Star Wars trilogy directed by Stahelski, starring Keanu Reeves as the lead Jedi in Knights of the Old Republic.
I did say Knights of the Old...
That's exactly what Jonathan said.
I said Knights of the Old Republic.
I mean, that's it. You announced that. Those two guys... Keanu Reeves looks like a Jedi Knight already. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's the perfect age. I don't remember all the lore back from when I was playing the game, but that's what you do. The problem is Kathleen Kennedy doesn't know what Knights of the Old Republic is. You know, these people, they don't know the old school, the expanded universe. You announce that, you could go make your Rey movie. Nobody would say anything. Go make the Rey movie. I'm hoping it's great. You go make the Rey movie. You want to turn the tide? Suddenly, and you, by the way, you announce, the next thing you do is you have a writing staff that's going to write all 3 movies, and you get the best writers in Hollywood to do it. The best writers. And I don't quite know. I'd have to sit down and say who those would be. But, you know, I mean, maybe Chris McQuarrie and Craig Mazin working together to write those 3 movies.
Unfortunately, Christopher McQuarrie has said he'll never do a Star Wars movie because
I know, but he would. This is the one thing he'd be bulletproof if you put these right. Because Chris McQuarrie won an Academy Award for writing The Usual Suspects. You get, and I know he's directing now.
He still loves to write, though.
I know, and I'll bet you if you brought in these 3 writers, take your pick. I'd say McQuarrie would be one. I would, and you find that, and you know what? Then you get Marcus and McFeely, who wrote Winter Soldier, films, Civil War, Endgame, and Infinity War and Endgame. Get those 3 guys to do it.
Maybe McQuarrie would get like an executive producer, and he could like script consult or something like that. If he didn't want a footprint,
or McQuarrie, Stileski does 1 and 3, and McQuarrie does 2, and they all work together cohesively, and they shoot them all at the same time, like Lord of the Rings.
Now, of course, McQuarrie's a little busy for the next 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, so but you know what?
That's the other problem with Craig Mazin too, is that he's kind of.
But you know, you make the villain in this trilogy that squares off against Keanu Reeves. Tom effing Cruise is the evil Jedi or the evil Sith Lord. Keanu Reeves versus Tom Cruise in Knights of the Old Republic.
I can see it now, Darth Stumpy.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, you get McQuarrie and Stileski together. I'm telling you, this is a slam dunk. People would go bananas.
At the end, Tom
judge
Cruise
me
does
by
a little
my
dance.
size, do you? And where you should not, because I am the Sith. Come on,
It was
man.
funny because Jonathan, prior to us doing the show, Jonathan and I were talking about this. He brought up this whole idea. I mean, look, it would ravenously. First of all, you just get hit. Just start with Chad. I think that would get people very excited and interested. You get the right concept for it, something that would be lore heavy and action heavy. Not so much drama heavy, but lore and action. And those are things Chad can do in spades. And if you wanted to do it and add a Keanu Reeves, because, you know, Keanu was getting close to 60, or is he past 60 already?
Yeah. And here's what you do.
But doing a Jedi, he can do that no problem.
They were best friends as children. And you chart the course of 2 men that go on a different path than each other. And the whole thing is these are 2 men. You just
described Ben-Hur. Did you realize that?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I love it.
Maybe that's why, because I watched it on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, that's great.
Or New Year's Eve. And you have these 2 men that go, as a matter of fact, there's your template.
Yep.
The way
Star
Lucas
Wars
looked at
version of
Kurosawa, you make Ben-Hur in the Star Wars universe as Knights of the Old Republic.
Instead of joining or going deeper in the Romans, he joins the Empire or whatever that equivalent would
and he
be
leads,
in the Old
come
Republic.
with, oh, dude, there it is. Dude, I'm getting chills. Let's announce it. We should make this movie.
We should make this movie right now. So hopefully this is something they can pull, because I would love to see. Now, obviously, Chad's got a couple of projects on the go right now. That's why I said hit me up in a couple of years. But I'm telling you, if I'm an exec at Lucasfilm, I am calling this guy right now and saying, what will it take for us to get you to put your other stuff on pause, and let's get rock and rolling and developing something here? That's what I would do.
I just want to bring Drew Struzan out of retirement to paint a poster of Keanu Reeves as a Jedi Master and Tom Cruise as a Sith Lord with his hair from Mission Impossible 2, squaring off against one another, lightsabers a-clashing, with armies behind them. It's the Lord of the Rings of the Star Wars franchise. I'm getting excited. This is never going to happen. But
he's just screaming in the Jedi, in the Sith temple, I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
All right, guys. With that down, we got a big year in front of us of 2024, and we're going to go over 30 of what we think are going to be the most anticipated films of 2024. But before we get to those, we're going to take another quick minute here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. On average, it takes about 30 days for a person to break their New Year's resolution. So if saving money was on your 2024 list, your odds aren't looking that great. Luckily, I have a 100% guaranteed way to save you money this year. Just switch to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month. I've told you guys many times that after switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my cell bill than I used to with a major carrier. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All Mint plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And don't worry about having to change phones or numbers. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So guys, to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
And a special thanks to Mint Mobile. We very much appreciate their ongoing support of the John Campea Show.
Let's go, Mint!
And John's about to get back to his desk. So,
5,
John,
4,
over to you.
3.
Back to me now. So I had to go refill my hot chocolate. I had to do that, guys. Anyway, thank you to Mint Mobile. Now, that down, let's get on to this.
Yeah.
2024. Still hard for me to kind of wrap my head around that it's 2024. Now I'm totally out of breath from running to get my hot chocolate. But there are a lot of really cool movies coming out. And whereas a lot of people are doing top 10, whatever, I thought we would look more holistically at the upcoming year and say the 30 films that we are most excited about. So I'm going to give you, now let me give a couple of asterisks here. I was surprised, even though the list had to be 30, how many films I had to leave off the list.
I know.
So there are films like The New Bad Boys. I'm looking forward to The New Bad Boys. Didn't make my list, though.
It was 31.
It made my list.
Oh, good. Well, it's going to get some love. Now, then there's a movie like, say, American Fiction. Even though it goes wide on January 12th, it's not on our list because it is technically a 2023 film.
I already saw it.
And Jonathan already saw it, so there you go. So I don't want anybody, if there's a movie I have left off my list, I don't want anybody to go, well, John's not looking forward to that movie. John doesn't think that movie's going to be good. It's not that. It's just that there's a lot of movies coming out this year. I only had room for 30. Okay, so here's how I broke down my list. They are in no particular order, all right? This list is in no particular order until I get to my top 5. The top 5 are in order. All the rest of them, I'm just listing them by release date. Okay? Are we good on that? Got it? Great. Here's my 30 most anticipated films of 2023 list. Starting off with this. Coming out March 8th. Love Lies Bleeding.
That's on my list.
This is the Kristen Stewart movie where she runs a gym and she falls in love with this female bodybuilder. Except, oh no, evil dad Ed Harris has some stuff. You know what? I don't know if you agree with this, Rob. I kind of got, I'm not saying it's going to be anything like it. I got No Country for Old Men vibes from the trailer for this movie. And I got to say, the more I watched the trailer, the more intrigued I got by it. So this made my list.
This is from the director of Saint Maud. If you haven't seen Saint Maud, which, by the way, I do on the Steelbook. Just saying.
Of course you do.
Saint Maud's a great movie, and really looking forward to this. It's for the director alone.
All right. On March 21st, we got Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see it. I think it's time for them to finally revisit this. I think Jake Gyllenhaal's the right guy to do it. The footage that I've seen from the film looks like it's got a really good DNA to it. So Roadhouse is on my list. Does this one make your list?
It's number 29, right after Love Lies Bleeding.
There we go. So, okay. So there's Roadhouse. March 29th. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'm going to admit, I didn't love the first trailer, but I loved the last movie.
Right.
I thought I had so much fun with the last movie that it didn't matter if some marketing company made a good trailer or not. I'm excited to see this. So did Ghostbusters make your list?
It did not.
Really?
That might be number 31.
All right.
Only because you know I did like the last movie. I didn't love it, but it looks good. You know, it's not like listen. There's a lot of great movies coming out in 20.
So not all of them are going to be in.
2024.
So I'll be curious to know then when we go over the ones that you do have on your list that aren't on mine. All right. Next, we get to Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's. The dude, his last film was Parasite, won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Robert Pattinson. Let me read this off here. Robert Pattinson is an astronaut sent to colonize an icy, faraway planet. The mortality rate is so high that they copy themselves. I don't know. It sounds fabulous. I loved Parasite. Can't wait to see us. Did Mickey 17 make your
Number 11 on my list.
What?
Woo!
Yeah.
Now remember, my list is in no particular order. All right.
You guys got one right, at least.
Well, I thought you wanted
got
me.
one
I
right.
thought you wanted me to put my top 10 in order. So my top 10 are in order.
All right. Well, my top 5 in order, but we'll get to yours in a bit. All right. Next up, coming out on April 12th, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Listen, don't care. I had fun with Godzilla versus Kong. Did it have some major problems? Absolutely it did. But I don't care. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm loving Monarch, and I just want to get back into this world. So Godzilla X Kong coming out on April 12th joins my. Did it make your list?
Number 12.
Of course it made.
Oh yeah.
All right. On April 26th, we got the new Zendaya threesome movie. That I don't care what anybody says. That's exactly what I'm terminating. It's the Zendaya threesome movie, Challengers. This, of course, is the tennis rom-com where the trailers just basically said, hey, everybody, come see Zendaya in a threesome. And you know what? Good enough. And you know, it's been too long since we've had a tennis movie.
Okay.
It's been too long.
And a threesome movie.
And a
Y tu mama
threesome movie.
también.
We're all.
So would you say the balls in their court?
Yeah.
This is what they call a
Wimbledon.
full
Balls are in
modern
their
movie.
court. You're right.
But like, what was the last one? What was that? Who's the guy who plays Vision again? Paul Bettany. What was that Paul Bettany rom-com that he did? Remember what was it called? Wimbledon?
It might have been called.
The Woody Allen movie? Or
No. No, Woody. It wasn't a Woody. I'm pretty sure. It
I
wasn't
don't
a
know. I
Woody
don't
Allen
remember.
film. But we need a new.
We need a new tennis.
We need a new tennis movie with threesomes.
threesome
I think
movie.
that's definitely up there. All right. Then on April 26th, this is one of those movies that looks a little too real to make you just a little bit more uncomfortable. Civil War. The recently Emmy Award-winning Nick Offerman, Jesse Plemons. I mean, this is a scary looking film. Anyway, Rob, did Civil War make your list?
Number 12. Oh, no, pardon me. Number 15. This is Alex Garland,
Yep.
who made Ex Machina and made Devs and made Annihilation. He wrote Dredd, the Judge Dredd movie with Carl Urban. He's worked with Danny Boyle a lot. I am very excited to see this, even though it might look a little on the nose for an election year.
Yeah, good timing for it. All right. Then on May 3rd, we've got the Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt movie, The Fall Guy. And tell you what, I was caught by surprise by this all the way back in April at CinemaCon when they brought the cast out on stage and they showed us this big presentation. And I was legitimately pleasantly shocked by how entertaining this little film looks. So, and I think the trailers have all been really good. I think the music choices have been great. I love the dynamic between Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. So this is on my list. May 3rd, that one's coming out. Did it make your list?
28. But I'm going to tell you something. This was way high on my list. Way high. It was at number 6, but I totally forgot about a movie. And so I had written all these down, and I didn't want to like change all the numbers. So I just swapped out number 6 for 28. So it used to be number 6, but it's now 28 on this list.
Wow.
Whatever that says about me.
I'm sure we were all following that.
Yeah, you know. Not that
right.
it matters.
We move now on the calendar to May 17th for the new Ryan Reynolds film, If, being directed by John Krasinski. I'll tell you what, I didn't love the sound of this movie when they first pitched it. When we first heard that, first of all, John Krasinski directing another film, great. Gonna have Ryan Reynolds in it, great. Gonna have Steve Carell as a part of it, great. But I didn't know if I loved the premise. And then they showed us the first trailer. And I thought, you know what? This looks like it's going to have that warmth and that charm and that humor to it. And so If makes my list. Did If make yours?
Yes, it did. Number 23.
There you go. Was number 1, dropped to 23.
No, I didn't switch out any two the other way. That's the other
All
way.
right.
I'm legit.
The next week after that, a little film called Furiosa, a Mad Max saga is coming out. And listen, I'm right with a lot of people on this. I thought, why are you doing a prequel of a secondary character? As great as Charlize Theron's Furiosa was, she's a secondary character. Why are you doing this? Why are we doing a prequel? Yeah, I stopped asking those questions when the trailer came out. When the trailer came out, I'm just like, George Miller's back. And I'm like, this is good enough for me. And, Anya Taylor-Joy is kind of ruling the world right now. I didn't even recognize Chris Hemsworth at first in it. You definitely do by the end of the trailer. But Furiosa Mad Max Saga, May 24th made my list. I'm just going to assume it made yours.
Number 2.
Really? That high in your list?
Number 2, it's that high. And, another movie comes out on that same day. And
which is also on my list. Same day, May 24th, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, with Wes Ball directing. And if you're like, why does that name sound familiar? Wes Ball. They just announced that he's going to be the director of the new Legend of Zelda live action movie. And this trailer looked great. This trailer looked great. Not a big fan of the third Planet of the Apes movie myself, but I love the trilogy overall. And this trailer just looked fantastic. I can't believe these two movies are actually going to come out on the same day. I don't know if they're going for a Barbenheimer thing here, but Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and Furiosa, I think, are both aiming for a lot of the same demographic. I got to think one of them's going to move.
I don't know, man. My birthday is on May 15th, and Fury Road came out for my birthday in 2015. So even though this is a week later, I just want to believe that they scheduled these movies just for me. Because Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is number 8 on my list. I am a huge... Here's why Disney does not have the original Planet of the Apes coming out in 4K, why there's not a button on Disney Plus for the Apes saga. When I was a kid, John, there were 2 franchises pre-Star Wars that I love more than any others. Apes and James Bond. This is the 10th Apes feature film. 10th!
And hopefully it lived up to the promise of that trailer. All right. We move now forward almost 2 weeks. And June 7th, the John Wick spin-off film Ballerina with Ana de Armas is coming out, which it's been confirmed that John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves, will be making at least a cameo appearance in the film. First of all, look, if you saw Ana de Armas in that last James Bond movie and you saw her carry off a major action sequence, you're on board with this. I think this is going to be great. I'm really excited about this. Did Ballerina, coming out on June 7th, make your list?
Number 9 with a bullet. Yeah, dude. How can you not? Ana de Armas was, as a James Bond fan, I really didn't like No Time to Die, but I loved her.
Yeah, her sign. One of the really down parts of the fact that they killed off that iteration of James Bond was the fact I could have watched an entire movie of their chemistry. I thought Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas had great on-screen back and forth chemistry. I loved it. It's too bad. All right. We move forward now 1 week to June 14th and Inside Out 2. Listen, I never thought they were going to do a sequel to Inside Out, but I am so glad they are. This is truly one of the most special, I think, Pixar films they've ever done. One of the most emotionally moving and emotionally satisfying movies they ever did was Inside Out. And I've really enjoyed the trailer, the fact that we got new emotions. What's this one again? Anxiety. That's right. Riley's becoming a teenager. Hi, I'm Anxiety. I'm like, okay, that's already perfect. So Inside Out makes my list. Did it make yours?
It did. Number 20. I love the first one. Great to see. I think this is going to be a Pixar, another banger.
All right. Move forward now 1 more week to June 21st, when finally the Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, Sons of Anarchy wannabe movie, The Bike Riders. I'm sure it's not like the Sons of Anarchy, but The Bike Riders comes out. By the way, I echo the sentiment of a lot of people. It's a bad name for the movie because when people hear The Bike Riders, they literally think of some kids on their bicycles. But whatever. It is what it is. This was a movie that's supposed to be out already. Disney dropped it. And I think it was Universal that picked it up. I can't remember who picked it up.
It is.
But coming out on June 21st is The Bike Riders. Very excited for this film. Rob, did it make your list?
No.
Bike Riders did not make.
It did not make my list, and I love the director. It just, there was a couple of things that maybe 35 on my list.
Okay.
It's cold, bro.
Just a testament that there's a lot of big films coming out that we're all very excited about. All right. Coming out, they're guessing sometime in June, but they're only categorizing as sometime in 2024, is a film that has been making the festival circuit and getting rave reviews, and that is Janet Planet. And it follows, it's a directorial debut for Annie Baker, who is a playwright of this. It's going around. Everybody seems to be buzzing about this film. I don't know a lot about it, but when I first heard it, like starting to collect some hardware, I like really looked into it. And then I talked to a couple of friends of mine who have seen it, and they're like, this is a powerhouse movie. It's a lower budget, but it's one of these movies that are really going to resonate with a lot of people. And I suddenly got really excited about. So Janet Planet is on my list. Rob, did it make yours?
It was, but it got pushed out. Pushed off my list.
But look, nobody's seen or heard much of it so far. We'll see if it can generate any buzz.
But like you, I've been following this movie, and it's something I've really wanted to see because the festival buzz.
Yeah.
Right.
But not enough to make your list. So
Well, it was on my list. It got pushed down.
Yeah, but it didn't make the list.
Yeah.
All right. Then, amazingly, remarkably, almost unbelievably, a movie that I am pretty sure I was still at Collider when it was announced. Eli Roth's Borderlands is finally coming with Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Jamie Lee Curtis, on and on. Eli Roth doing it. And you know who wrote the screenplay with Eli Roth? Craig Mazin. Again, this is one of these movies that I've always thought, why does this exist? And it's but then you see Cate Blanchett attached herself to it. Craig Mazin's one of the writers of it. I mean, I cannot help but be excited by this. See, especially after we've seen Last of Us, and we got the trailers for
Fallout.
Fallout, thank you. Fallout looks amazing, and this could be great. So Borderlands coming out on August 9th makes my list. Did it make yours?
No.
Did not. I don't blame you.
Troubled production.
Yep.
And I mean, I want it to be good, and by the way, one of our subjects for designing Hollywood, Daniel Orlandi, came in to work on this film. So I want it to be good.
All right.
But not on your list.
Not on
One
my
that
list.
almost didn't make my list, but just the fact that Fede Alvarez is attached is enough to keep it on there for me. Alien Romulus. I decided to put on. I am very much over both the Alien and the Predator stuff, but then Prey came along, kind of reignited some of that. And then just the very fact, if it was almost anybody else than Fede Alvarez, I wouldn't have had Alien Romulus on my list. But the fact is, I really like him as a filmmaker a lot. And so if he's doing this and he's excited about it, that's enough to put on my list. That comes out on August 16th. Did it make your list?
Number 16.
Ooh, so
for the reason, Fede Alvarez, when I went dubiously to go see his Evil Dead, I'm like, eh. And then I was like, wow, this guy knows how to make a movie. And Don't Breathe, come on. Made me excited.
I love Don't Breathe. All right. A lot of people are going to laugh, but I don't care. I'm excited to see Kraven the Hunter.
Thoughts and prayers, John. Thoughts and prayers.
First of all, I absolutely love Aaron Taylor Johnson. I just saw him in Bullet Train again recently. I watched that again. Aaron Taylor Johnson always kills it.
Kills it.
Always kills it. Russell Crowe is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love the basic idea I love the Kraven character. The trailer had some hit and miss. I was very excited when they came out and say, yeah, we're fucking rated R. And you see somebody getting their eyeball bit out of their face. All right.
This guy was the nose. But
Does it still have, fairly or unfairly, does it carry with it some of the stench of Morbius? Yes, it does. But I would have been lying. I would have been lying if I didn't say it's one of the top 30 films that I'm kind of looking forward to getting out to the theater to see. It is not made by the same people who made Morbius. Again, the trailer wasn't perfect, but we'll see. Well, I got a feeling it didn't, but did Kraven the Hunter make your top 30 list?
Oh, it did.
It did!
Oh.
Number 26.
Excellent.
For many of the reasons that you said, I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. You know, I even loved him in Oliver Stone's Savages, which is
Oh, I love him in that.
yeah,
With Taylor Kitsch.
Don Winslow's an adaptation of Don Winslow's novel. But look, the movie looks like goofy fun. If it's well done, R-rated, a lot of violence, I'm in. Count me in. I'll tell you right now, spoiler alert, Madam Web did not make my list.
Madam Web also did not
interesting.
make my list. I am
shocked.
curious to see Madam Web. I am. I think the synopsis is strong. I think it's a strong synopsis, but not high enough to make my list.
No.
All right, let's move on here. The Piano Lesson. Denzel Washington is producing and bringing this thing to the big screen, starring his son, John David Washington, and Samuel L. Jackson, based on... Now, let me just read this. Battle over whether to keep or sell their family's precious heirloom of a piano. The older Washington is on board as a producer. The younger Washington reprises his role from the recent Broadway revival of the same property, as does Samuel L. Jackson. So the two of them starred on Broadway in this. Denzel's now bringing this to the live screen. Are you kidding? Denzel's producing. John David Washington, Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, what's not to be excited about? This comes out probably sometime in October, but they don't have a specific date. They're just saying sometime in 2024. The Piano Lesson makes my list. Rob, did it make yours?
It didn't. And I liked Fences, and I love Denzel Washington, but it didn't make my list. I'm going to see it, but it wasn't in my top 30.
All right. On September 20th, a film, if I had any of these in any order, it might be in my top 10. And that is the new Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Wolves. Being directed by the Spider-Man trilogy director, John Watt, is directing it. It's not an Ocean's 11 movie, but whatever. I love seeing these two guys on there. The whole premise is that they're both fixers and they inadvertently get assigned to the same case. And sign me up. Everything about this sounds great to me. Comes out later in the year, September 20th. Rob, did Wolves make your list?
Number 25. Yes, it did. Can't wait to see the same reasons you said. Ocean's 11 is one of the most enjoyable films I can possibly imagine because of the chemistry of these two together. If they were sitting down and having coffee and you made a My Dinner with Brad and George, I would watch it. Can't wait.
I would just call it the Clune. All right. Moving ahead from that, on November 8th, not going to be on everybody's list, but I don't care. Sometimes it's lonely to be right. Venom 3.
You're wrong.
Venom 3. I love the Venom movies. Now, granted, I love the first one more than I did the second one. I still had a good time with the second one, but I love these movies. I love the approach Tom Hardy takes with it. I love the attitude he has towards these characters. Predominantly, he makes these movies fun. And I know a lot of people wanted Venom to be a homicide murder machine, like sometimes as is sometimes portrayed in the comics, but I really enjoy what Tom Hardy has brought us with this character. And will it be good or bad? We'll have to wait and find out. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't say it was in my top 30 most anticipated. Rob, did Venom 3 make your list?
No.
Not surprised.
No, it didn't.
These movies were not your cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea. Not
right.
that I don't find them enjoyable, but, not my thing.
There's a lot of good films coming out this year. All right. Speaking of films that quite excited about, I remember I got first whispers of this when we were at CinemaCon. They didn't do a presentation on it, but I was talking to a studio exec. Tell me about Alto Nights. This is Robert De Niro in a mob mafia movie where he's playing both lead characters. He's playing both lead characters. First of all, Robert De Niro in a mob mafia movie, and he's going to be playing multiple characters in it. Sign me up. I'm excited about this. Alto Nights comes out November 15th. Rob, did it make your list?
Sadly, no.
Real? I would have thought this would be one
I
of
know
those
it's
right up
right.
your
It's
alley.
my cup of tea, but De Niro in a mob movie, love to see it, and playing both roles, kind of neat. But it just didn't make my list.
All right. 1 week after Alto Nights, we got Gladiator 2, a movie that I rolled myself into a coma when I first heard they were making, especially the original idea for it. But what has happened since then? They've added Denzel Washington, Connie Nielsen coming back to reprise her role, Pedro Pascal, Djimon Hounsou's coming back to reprise his role, Pedro Pascal. I mean, look, the one bit of hesitation I have is, to me, Ridley Scott has not been great ever since The Martian.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't hate all of his movies. I didn't hate House of Gucci. I didn't hate The Last Duel. I did hate Napoleon. I hated that. I thought it was terrible. So that gives me some pause. But hey, listen, the last time Ridley Scott went into the world of The Gladiator, he won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And considering that there must be something, I mean, look, he got Pedro Pascal interest. Pedro Pascal has his choice of whatever project he wants in the world right now. Denzel Washington always has his choice of whatever project he wants in the world. And they're signing up for it. So Gladiator 2 makes my list. Rob, did it make yours?
Dude, I love Gladiator.
It's a no.
It's a yes.
Oh.
Gladiator 2, number 14 on my list. I hope they call it Gladiator something other than Gladiator 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
I don't want to call it there's no electricity back in those days. Come on, man.
No, man,
I
they
want
get it.
them to call it like Gladiator. This time it's personal. No, I don't know. Something.
time
Just
it's
not
personal.
two. Not two.
The Gladiator.
Gladiator 2,
2.
Dead and Loving It.
Ghost Dad. All right. We move on now to November 27th, when a movie that I am not the target demographic of, and I did not care much about, Wicked. And then they gave us a surprise presentation. We didn't know. They didn't tell us anything about there being a presentation for Wicked, and they kind of dropped it on us and surprised us. And it's one of those moments, Rob, when you see something that completely changes your mind about something. I couldn't have cared less about Wicked prior to that presentation. And then when they showed us that presentation, I was like, I am dying to see this now. I'm absolutely dying. It looked. And when they talked about, guys, for those of you big fans of practical effects, like, producer came out and talked about how, like, they used something like 7 million flowers in this one shot because they tried to have as much of it be practical effects as possible while also using a lot of CGI. But I'm telling you, this movie looks incredible. I can't wait to watch this. Wicked comes out November 27th. Rob, did it make your list?
Hell yes. For the same reason, John, come on, you're a song and dance man. I like musicals. And I wasn't necessarily on my list, but after seeing that presentation, I'm like, I got to see that. Wicked comes in at number 19.
All right. And again, that comes out November 27th. And that leads us to the last of the in release order movies. And then we'll get into my top 5. Nosferatu coming out on Christmas. What says Christmas? Celebrating the birth of the Lord more than going back and doing a dark vampire movie with Nosferatu. Couple big things here. This is a film by Robert Eggers. I'm not going to say obsessed, but I'm really big on Robert Eggers right now. I loved his what was his Viking movie called again? With Skarsgård?
Oh, The Northman.
The Northman. Absolutely love The Northman. So I don't know why some people poo-poo on The Witch, but I thought that was fantastic.
Dude, I love The Witch. My God.
I love it. And listen to this cast. First of all, he's gone back and gotten his main dude. He's got Skarsgård in there for this. He's got Nicholas Hoult, Eileen Hutter, Emma Corrin, Willem Dafoe, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I mean, I can't wait to see this. I love this guy's sensibilities. Going back and to visit the Nosferatu, I think this is going to be great. Weird choice for a Christmas day, granted, but I can't wait to see it. Rob, did it make your list?
Yes, it did. Number 17. I'm a huge Robert Eggers fan. This is his 4th feature film, and I think nobody does atmosphere better than he does. And I can't think of a more atmospheric movie than Nosferatu.
Feliz Nosferatu.
There you go.
I like that.
Nosferatu. All right. That gets us into the top 5. At number 5 for me, coming in June 28th, it's A Quiet Place Day 1. I thought A Quiet Place 1, which I believe came out in 2018, I thought that was the best film of the year. I thought it should have been nominated for Best Picture of the Year. I thought it should have won Best Picture of the Year. I almost liked A Quiet Place 2 as much as I liked A Quiet Place 1. The fact that they're now going back to the beginning of it, told from different characters' points of view, I'm very excited about it. Quiet Place Day 1 comes in at my number 5. My number 4, hey, it's my man Henry Cavill, with Matthew Vaughn directing Argylle. I'm a sucker for a great spy movie. Obviously, it's Henry Cavill. I love Matthew Vaughn. I think Bryce Dallas Howard is amazing. I can't wait for this. I think this looks like a lot of fun. It's my number 4 most anticipated film. My number 3, Joker Folie à Deux, which is a terrible title, by the way. They really should change this title. Coming out on October 4th, I was floored and mesmerized by the first Joker. I'm a little hesitant because they never intended to do a sequel. It was supposed to be a one and done, but hey, money and Oscars talk. So they decided to go back and do another one, adding in Lady Gaga in that, who obviously stole the world with A Star Is Born. And even though House of Gucci was modestly received, everybody thought she was brilliant in it. Having her play opposite Joaquin Phoenix puts Joker as my number 3 most anticipated movie. At number 2, Dune Part 2. I was at a loss for words of how much I loved the first one. I just couldn't believe. I don't believe, Rob, I think you and I had this conversation. I don't believe it's even possible to make an adaptation to Dune as good as that movie was. If the visual.
Well, it is possible because he did it.
Well, because he did it. There it is. The visuals, the sound design, the performances, everything about this movie just captivated me, drew me in, and damn, I mean, I was angry that it got pushed out. I understood why, because the stars weren't there to promote it. But now March 1st, we get to see it. And that leads us into, to nobody's surprise, my number 1 most anticipated film of the year is Deadpool 3. Look, that's not me saying that I think Deadpool 3 is going to be the best movie of the year, but I love the Deadpool movies. We got Ryan coming back. He managed to get Hugh Jackman out of Wolverine retirement to come in and play Wolverine. It's in the MCU. There's just so every checkbox about what could make you excited for this movie is there. And Rob, we've been hearing some things we don't want to report out loud about what some of the things are going into this movie are.
Yeah.
That just kind of builds the hype even more. So for me, it was a no questions. Deadpool's my number 1. So just to highlight my top 5 again. Pardon me. Number 5, A Quiet Place Day 1. Number 4, Argylle. Number 3, Joker Folie à Deux. Number 2, Dune Part 2. Number 1, Deadpool. And then all those other great sounding films in no particular order. So Rob, let's get into your top 10 here. How do you break down your top 10? And maybe if there's any others that you know that I wasn't on my list that are on yours.
You know, there's a lot that we've already covered in my top 10, but number 10 we did not. Horizon Chapter 1, which is Kevin Costner's epic Western.
You know what? I had that on my list. It got bumped out to number 31.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I loved Open Range. Of course, I love Dances with Wolves. So
Love me
that
Yellowstone.
was number 10. Number 9 is Ballerina. Number 8 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Number 7 is Gladiator 2. Number 6 is Joker, Folie à Deux. Now, number 5 comes from a great Canadian kid, one of my favorite directors. He's not for everybody. It's a movie called The Shroud, or The Shrouds,
yep.
from David Cronenberg. And this is a movie about a guy who creates a process where the grieving can go to a special cemetery and watch their loved ones decompose in real time.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying, leave it there. David Cronenberg with his body horror. Oh, yes. So number 4 is Deadpool 3 for me. I know it's low on the totem pole. Number 3 is Dune 2. Number 2 is Furiosa. And number 1, now they've said it's coming out in 2024. Number 1, most anticipated movie of the year, Francis Ford Coppola coming back and doing the movie that he sold his vineyard to make, Megalopolis.
Yeah, I thought that was coming out in 2025.
Is it? Because I've read it was coming out in 2024. If not, then bump that off the list and just move everything up.
You could be right.
So Folie à Deux would become number 5. If it's not, Folie à Deux is number 5, The Shrouds is number 4, Deadpool 3 is number 3, Furiosa is number 2, and Dune 2 would be number 1.
Well, there you have it, guy. I just want to ask Ray and Jonathan here
What a
quick.
shame.
What's do you guys got one or two that are like your most anticipated for coming 2024?
I would say Dune 2 and actually Furiosa, and then probably Deadpool 3 are in my top 3.
What a shame.
There's one movie I want.
Sonic, yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah, Sonic does Sonic come out this year?
I don't
I think so, doesn't it?
It might. I
Does
think
it
it
come,
might.
double check that.
All right.
I do have one movie that I'd like to mention. Ethan Cohen's Drive Away Dolls. Coen brothers, they're not working together. But Ethan Cohen, I thought the trailer for Drive Away Dolls looked great.
I was gonna say
Question.
I'd like to mention that.
Love Lies Bleeding because you said, oh, that looks like I was gonna say it looks like a Coen Brothers film, actually.
Right.
Well, that's why I said
that.
it,
We both said that.
It looks
Oh, you
like
said
a
Coen
No
Brothers?
Country for Old Men kind of
Well,
feeling.
no, I mean
yeah.
we didn't. But Drive Away Dolls was something that wasn't on your list. It's on my list.
And let's not forget, it might not be a 2024 film, but ISS comes out January 19th, baby.
Woo!
Yeah, officially, I think it got listed as a 2023 film officially. But yes, ISS comes out. Look, ISS, some big holdovers for 2023. American Fiction and ISS coming out look great. And all right, guys, with that down, we asked earlier our beloved YouTube channel members to fire in some topics and questions that they may have. We ask our beloved YouTube channel members to do that every day. So we've got a few minutes left here, so let's get through as many as we can. Jonathan, what do we got up first?
Yosef writes, Dear John and crew, what is your perfect roster of X-Men to bring to the MCU?
There is no such thing. It's because I could give you a list, and unless writers write the right chemistry and the right story for them, so it's whatever character group that they can put together that they think makes for the best story, I'm completely good with. Obviously, like, my all-time favorite comic book character, period, is Magneto. So not on the X-Men, but I mean, I'd like to see him in there. I'd like to see Cyclops, obviously Wolverine. I mean, it's just your basic standard fare.
Has there been any X-Men that they haven't even touched that you would like to see finally? Like,
I mean,
they've
they've
touched
never
everybody,
given
right?
Bishop a true place. He's appeared in a couple of things, but I'd love to see Bishop. But
They even did Jubilee.
I would
right?
too.
They did Jubilee too. Wasn't she in one
They
of
did
like?
get done Jubilee.
yeah,
she's
but
the one
not.
that
but
ran through the
never
wall.
in a prominent
Oh,
role.
okay.
Right.
Always as a side secondary thing. All right, what's next?
Amin says, Happy 2024. Hope you're feeling better, John. Please take care of yourself. Thoughts on the Marvel Netflix shows officially being canon to the MCU, kind of.
Okay, can I correct this? It's not. Did everybody ignore what that producer said? That producer, everybody's running out. It's no official. No, it's not. No, it's not. Look, go back and read exactly what that producer said. That producer said, the person asked him, so are those Netflix shows canon? And what did he say? He said, all I can say is that to me they are.
Yeah.
All I can say is that to me they are. Guys, that is the furthest thing in the world from Marvel makes it official. No, it's not. Actually, if anything, it says exactly the opposite. If you have to have a producer to say, well, in my own head canon, it's kind of, then that means Disney did not codify it. I'm sorry, but everybody running around with these headlines saying Marvel make no. What did the producer actually say? He said, to me, I think of them as being canon. Well, if you have to think of them that way, that specifically means Disney went out of the way to not say that they are. So, yeah, I don't know, Rob, how did you interpret that?
Exactly what you just said. I mean, it was. Look, with the multiverse, why not say everything is all canon? I mean, I would think to me, Deadpool 3 with Wolverine and Deadpool is a Fox X-Men movie. You know, it's the end of the Fox X-Men era. And that's kind of how I think of it. Is that canon? I mean, once Deadpool 3 moves into the MCU, if that's the way the movie's going to end, and I'm not necessarily convinced it will. But if it does, then that makes all of Fox movies that at least came over with the X-Men canon as well.
Well, and in a reality of, in a movie universe of multiverse, you can literally say everything is canon.
Yeah.
You can say Spaceballs is canon. You can say, because it's multiverse, right? Everything ever has always
The
happened.
old Doctor Strange TV movie is canon.
The old
Nicholas
Doctor Who
Hammond's
series is
Spider-Man.
canon.
Yeah, I mean, crazy.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
We got the Brandon Salad. Hey, crew, what's your opinion on the Hollywood Creative Alliance since the Astra Film Awards were a few days ago? Curious how similar or different they are compared to the Hollywood Foreign Press.
I don't know anything about them, to be honest
Hollywood
with you.
Creative
Yeah.
Alliance.
I'm not familiar with them, so unfortunately. All right, good question though. I gotta be honest. I could fake it and try to look something up, but I'll be honest with you. I don't know what it is. So there's that. All right, what's next?
Alan says, welcome back, John. Ray, thanks for asking about my list on Friday. Movies I'm looking forward to in 2024 is Inside Out 2 and Deadpool 3. I'm also looking forward to Soul and Turning Red returning to theaters.
Yeah, so coming up here soon, this is we talked about this before the new year. Pixar is correcting a wrong. They are going back and they're going to actually release in theaters 3 movies that should have gotten theatrical release. Soul, Luca, and Turning Red. Now, there was a bit of discussion going on in the live chat prior to the show starting today, saying a bit of a debate on whether or not those movies will make any money. I don't think they will make any money, but I think what people got to understand is that Bob Iger is not releasing these in the theaters to make money. Well, why on earth would you do it then? That's a good question. Bob Iger is releasing these things to the theaters as an olive branch to the creative teams at Pixar, who got extremely angry and felt very thrown under the bus when Bob Chapek decided not to allow those films to be released in theaters and instead dump them on Disney Plus. We talked about the stories on our show about the people were thinking about leaving Pixar and people were completely pissed off at Pixar. Morale was super low. There's only one reason they're re-releasing these in theaters now, and that is as an act of goodwill to It's Bob Iger saying to Pixar, you guys matter to us. You're valuable to us. And even though we're not going to make any money doing this, we're going to give these films the theatrical release that they deserve. And I like it on that level. What do you think about it?
I completely agree. I mean, I think that's very magnanimous, and maybe they'll put some interesting marketing behind them because, Disney used to re-release their movies, their classic movies. I mean, even like Snow White would get released every couple of years for decades, and people would go to the theater and see them. And I think still, look, John, every movie is made better if you can see it in the theater. And why not do that?
100%. All right, what's next?
Blackadder says, hi, John. Hope you're feeling better. Over under 50%. Joker 2 is making $1 billion in the box office.
Under.
Yeah, it's
I think it'll do very
under.
well. I think it'll do very well. And does it have the possibility of making $1 billion? Sure, it has a chance, but I think it's under 50%. I think not everyone who saw the first Joker loved it. I did, but I know a bunch of people who didn't like it. That's fine. So I think it'll be very financially successful, but I don't think it'll get to that $1 billion mark. What do you think, Rob?
It depends how good it is.
Yeah, I mean, always, right?
I mean, here's the thing: you got Lady Gaga, and you've got Joker, you've got Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and I think that movie spoke to a whole younger generation of people where mental illness runs rampant, and I think people feel that alienation. And I think now that you can find somebody to share that with, I mean, I think this could be a zeitgeist film. Depending on how they do it, it could be huge, but it has to be good.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, it can make $780 million, and that is still huge.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of money.
It's not like they're spending $200 million.
All right, let's take a couple more. What's next?
Kind of along the same topic, Matthew Gladney writes, hi, John and crew. Hope John is feeling better. So Dune 2 comes out in March. Do you think it will perform better, worse, or just about on par with the $42 million worldwide box office of Dune 2021?
Oh, it'll do better. I'm not saying it's going to be a $1 billion film, but remember, the first one got released day and date on HBO Max, right? Under still pandemic conditions. So the fact that first movie still managed to make $400 million.
Yeah.
That's 4 Miss Marvels.
That's 4.
Or 4 Marvels.
Well, come on. It's 2 Marvels.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
it's
That's
worldwide.
true, yeah.
The fact that it was able to make that much money, despite the fact that everybody in the world with HBO Max could have just watched it for free at home, and it still made $400 million, I think is remarkable. So yeah, I'm not saying it's going to make $1 billion, but I think it'll break that 400 million mark fairly easily. What do you think, Rob?
100%, because a lot of people have caught up with it.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies where I think people really like it, and I think it's going to do much better. And I really hope that when it opens, they give an IMAX weekend where they show both. Because I would definitely go back. I've seen Dune probably 10 times. I would definitely go back and see it in an IMAX theater and then see Dune 2 right afterwards.
Oh, me too. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Ryan says, "Hope you're feeling better, John. Happy to see Nick Offerman, Storm Reed sweep the guest acting Emmys for Last of Us this weekend."
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that Storm Reed got that, but when I reflect on it, she was fantastic.
Yeah.
That episode is great. In an old Calgary mall is where they shot that. But the Nick Offerman thing, that's one of those things where everybody around the world, the day episode 3 came out, people who are rich and poor and white and black and straight and gay and of this religion or that religion, all held hands around the globe and said, Nick Offerman will win this award. I mean, it was a foregone. I think everybody on the planet agreed on that one, and it was nice to see that actually came to fruition. All right, what's next?
Ariel says, "Who do you think is going to get the Academy Award for this year for Best Actor, Giamatti or Cillian Murphy?" Between those two, I'd say Cillian, but
it's
just thinking of the voting.
Here's the thing: it may not even be one of those two. It's a deep category this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, whenever you got Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be in that race, that's going to make it interesting. But I can tell you this. Here's the thing. Actors love Paul Giamatti. Actors love Paul Giamatti. It's crazy. I've spoken to a lot of actors who it's one of these surprising things that favorite actors. You'd be surprised how often Paul Giamatti's name comes up in actor circles when talking about your favorite actor. And considering, a lot of actors on the voting memory of the Academy. So it's going to be a tough category right now. If I had to guess, and again, these aren't my official picks. I'll save those till we get closer to the Oscars. But if I had to guess today, which I will not be bound to, I might actually say Giamatti. But there's 3 or 4 fully deserving guys to win. There's literally going to be 3 or 4 names on this list that if any of those 4 win, I'm going to go, yep, totally get it. That totally deserving for any of them. What about you, Rob? Who do you think grabs it?
I mean, look, honestly, I think it's Oppenheimer's year. I think Murphy delivered a performance for the ages. And I'm not saying that Paul Giamatti wasn't great. He was. But Cillian Murphy was chameleon-like in his ability to portray somebody who was almost felt like an alien in a way, observing Earth and Earthlings and going through. I thought he was just extraordinary. Whereas Paul Giamatti was delivering a performance that I would have expected he could deliver, if that makes any sense. Whereas Cillian Murphy really surprised me. I was blown away by what he was able to do. But that's not to say that I'm a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan. I'm surprised it took him as long to get an award as it did.
And listen, and it's not just a name thing either. DiCaprio killed it in Killers of the Flower Moon. He's amazing.
I mean, he's an amazing actor. But I know it's tough, but I do think it's Murphy's year. I think it's Oppenheimer's year. I think they're going to get a lot of awards.
All right, let's take 2 more. What's next?
1313 the Richard says, Madam Web is essentially Final Destination within the superhero mindset. I am totally down for a live action What If. Well, those are 2 things, but
like season 2, I was completely let down by, or like season 1, I was let down by What If season 2. I had time to watch a lot of TV when I was sick.
Although the end is interesting.
I honestly didn't think What If was very good. To be honest with you, wasn't all awful either. But they might as well have just called it the Captain Carter series. I mean, really, What If is nothing but a setup for Captain Carter.
Right.
And I happen to like Captain Carter. I'm just
too.
saying. I mean, there's a little bit of Final Destination DNA in that Madam Web thing, but there's also a little bit of Terminator in there too. Like I said, I have big concerns with the trailer. The dialogue in the trailers were delivered so woodenly.
Yeah.
But it's the synopsis. It's the plot outline that makes me go, there's potential there. This could be something really good if they execute it right. I just don't know if they're going to execute it right or not. All right, last question of the day. What's next?
All right. We've got 1313's back. Aloha, guys. In my professional opinion, Lisa Frankenstein is more warm bodies plus May. If you don't have friends, make your own. I hope that Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship is a mannequin tribute. Was that song in the trailer? If so, I'm sure it was a tribute to that.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was.
I have to say that Lisa Frankenstein is Diablo Cody's movie.
Yeah.
And
I love her. I adore her.
I think it looks good.
By the way,
I mean,
Oscar award-winning Diablo.
yes, I think that trailer. I would imagine that the actual movie is much darker than we see in the
Yeah, I think
trailer.
you're right.
Sure.
And they've made the trailer more palatable. But I looked at elements of that trailer, and it looks to me like it's going to be, I think, really good. It's either going to be, I just hope it's not stupid.
Yeah.
I hope it leans into the darkness, that it's more Heathers than
I said it was a cross between Warm Bodies and Heathers.
yes. Because Warm Bodies is a pretty good movie.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
What's that Australian actress's name? She was in I Am Number 4.
Right.
Teresa Palmer, I think is her name. I love her. I don't think she's around enough these days. We're going to wrap up the show now, but I have to tell you this story about what happened before the show started. Don't know why, but you know how there's like no less than 2 trailers out right now for horror movie versions of Steamboat Willie, now that Mickey Mouse is in the public
Oh,
domain?
brother.
Ray is like, I'm going to make my version of Steamboat Willie. It's going to be called Motorboat Willie. And Jonathan and I just started cracking up. It's like, there's a movie you can make.
Keep it in house, man. Keep it in house.
Motorboat Willie.
These ideas don't.
I can't unsee that.
And then Ray goes, Ray sees me over here taking halls, right? Because, oh my gosh, I went through my last halls. But going through halls. And Ray's like, hey, I got one of these Ricola caramel throat lozenges. You want to try one? It's like a motorboat in your mouth.
Isn't a motorboat in your mouth?
I'm not sure, but
I am genius, baby.
somebody's got to make us a fan poster for Motorboat Willie.
Motorboat Willie.
There's somebody who said,
With
all
2
right,
steering
guys.
Wheels.
2 steering wheels.
My voice starting to grow, so no big fanfare. I just want to thank Ray Ora,
Oh, yeah. See you guys later.
Jonathan Voico,
See you guys.
writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Guys, my name's John Campea on the Men. Thanks so much for putting up with us today. Good to have you here. We'll see you again tomorrow. And until next time, my friends.